allies, enemies, and those yet aligned. Welcome to another episode of Metamour Than You Bargained for. I am your host, Lynn Lawless.
Yay!
We have something a little different for all of you today. Everyone jokes that polyamory and D&D are just Venn diagrams that look more like a stack of pancakes. So this episode is all about D&D group dynamics. Because, that's basically polyamory anyway. Have you seen the scheduling?
It's like 90% of my job.
My co-host today is DM extraordinaire. You might know him best as the voice of Dragos from Swipe Right for Dragons. This is Anlin. Please tell us a bit about yourself and where you are in the world of non-monogamy.
Well, I didn't go to Juilliard. I never attended Harvard Business School of Law. I don't travel all that often. I didn't live through the Black Plague, nor did I have a good time during it. Beetlejuice paraphrases aside, I'm a professional game master, an aspiring voice actor, gender fluid, bisexual fellow doing his best to be a good person. In the world of non-monogamy, I don't have a ton of experience, but I do have two wonderful partners. And I'm talking to a couple of different people who may or may not become partners or just stay friends. Either way, I'm looking forward to exploring it.
Heck yes. I have been enjoying seeing your journey through all of this and the highs, the lows. It's just been so good to see someone succeeding in ways that I think are really healthy and geared towards growth.
Healthy and sustainability are what I'm personally looking for.
Hell yes.
We'll see how well I'm able to keep to that concept. I'm only human after all.
All right, so without further ado, let us jump right in. Meta. Am I the problem in this party? Hello there, first post, and this account specifically is for me to talk and ask the guidance of other players, DMs, and all-around lovers of the game. My first question to all of you is a campaign I'm set in and whether I'm being a problem player due to raising issues out of the game. Currently, we're all level 6, a party of 5 consisting of myself, the paladin, a warlock, a rogue, a barbarian, and a druid. Great party composition, love it. Barbarian has scheduling conflicts that we worked into the story, and the rogue is a newish player who isn't 100% comfortable with role-playing, but we love him all the same. Admittedly, I'm a bit of a rules lawyer. Not an aggressive, that's wrong and I'm right sort of way, but in a more, is that how the spell ability works kind of deal?
That's fine.
I've been prone to asking, do I notice this or do I see this happening whenever someone does something heinous without saying they're being sneaky? So fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta say you're being a sneaky sneak. I take no pride in it, and it does annoy me when I look back on those moments. However, I feel some character interactions have been locked off because the DM is protecting players from failure. These go as followed. The rogue was successful in stealing some boots of haste from a friendly NPC shop and giving them to our own barbarian. God, a barbarian with haste. Oh, God. Who's now wearing them. Out of character, I'm hugely happy about this as it meant more loot to compensate for the loss of the item that was our quest reward. But in character, I know my redemption paladin would not approve of stealing those from someone who has done nothing but help us. He's not aware that it was the rogue. We have been traveling for a long time since then, and despite asking, have I noticed the barbarians wearing the boots? The DM has said no, and we're on the road. Why would you be looking at his boots? Her boots. Oh my gosh, the barbarian's a girl. Way to usurp gender roles, girly. Fuck yeah. Anyway, sorry. Our warlock has tried to communicate and ask the assistance of their patron in a brawl where money was on the table, and our barbarian was facing off against an angelic race. In doing so, he rolled extremely high. This led to a chaotic scene of their patron appearing, snatching up the angel, and dragging them to the nine hells. This was described by the player as the warlock kneeling down and praying, something they'd never done, and even though it was during a brawl, could realistically be done within my character's line of sight. Despite this, no perception rolls nor passive perceptions were checked, which led to another "do I notice this?" which is answered with a no. I have spoken to my DM about this and explained my feelings towards it, and I was calmly told to give the new player some slack and let him enjoy his victories and not harass him to find out he's been stealing. This wasn't my goal. as I believe my character can understand the take from the rich give to the poor archetype, but any attempt at talking to said rogue about things like that has been met with threats of stabbings. I was also told that the DM could allow me to see the praying and just rework the scene, but that made me feel like I'm just whining in order to get some sort of change. In my opinion, I feel that if someone is going to attempt something that could be caught by another party member, a stealth roll should be made and then checked against the party's passive perception. But that's where I leave you all to ponder. Am I being the issue? Or just reading into it all too much? P.S. If any of them see this, I'm not doing this out of malice, not slating you all, and I love you all.
Aw, that's nice. This is a well-intentioned DM who is really denying the party several good chances at conflict roleplay, which can be dicey to handle. But as long as everybody out of character knows that there's no actual ill will and this is for character development, this shouldn't be any trouble. And it can lead to some excellent and strong in-character relationships. Honestly, the poster should have a conversation with the group about their desire to play out these scenes of conflict for the enjoyment of the whole group, and to reassure the group that there's no ill will behind their intentions, only the desire to elevate the story with character development and deepening relationships.
Yeah, it's way too easy for people to assume that what a player is doing with their character is how the player themselves feel. They often feel like this is some sort of proxy for their real life conflict. So having that conversation of, hey, I'm not trying to make things suck. I just think it would be interesting if potentially we actually dealt with this situation.
Yeah, I don't really like it when people bring their out of game beef with somebody, with a player to player, and then bring it in character. It's distasteful.
It's distasteful.
And
it's
sometimes unconscious.
Yeah, it really is unconscious a lot of the time, but I feel like then there are some people who may do it a little on purpose. But like, those are really easy to spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're not subtle.
That's such a good segue into our next story. I wish we weren't. But okay, so we didn't even answer the OP's questions. I would say, yeah, the problem isn't you. The problem is that you have a problem a little bit, because you seem to be rallying for a play style that none of the other players are enjoying and should maybe consider compromise, because this constant nitpicking for things that you think you see or you want to see, and bringing things up to the DM after they've said no, it's not going to make anyone like you anymore. You're reading into it too much, in that you haven't accepted that this might be more of a loosey-goosey game than you originally intended to play, because this constant need for things to be a little crunchier, it's not what the other players want. It's not what the DM wants. So continuing to try to push things that way is not fun for anyone. I think that it's time to have that above board conversation and figure out where the compromises can be made for the sake of having fun and interesting, smooth sessions.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're a DM. Do you think the DMs are signing up to mediate conflict within their role?
Well, I've already alluded to the DM's desire to avoid conflict being well-intentioned and a mistake. And quite frankly, to answer your question directly, a DM gets the default position of mediator at the table, whether or not they want it. But there is a responsibility for all players and all participants of a game to engage in mediation with fair-mindedness. Here are my thoughts on the actual like subject of conflict. We tend to think of conflict as a bad thing. It's not necessarily the case. In fact, conflict is in our blood as human beings. It's part of our instincts. If we cut out conflict entirely, the game becomes less interesting at best, and it can fester negative emotions that lead to a big blow-up conflict at worst. The best thing to do is to address it in session 0 and encourage your players to engage in-character conflicts, small ones, that can lead to close relationships as they are resolved and moved on from. And that is the key. You need to, in and out of game, address small conflicts and resolve them. Doing so will make your relationships stronger, not weaker.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people jump straight to the I'm going to betray the party moment, that they want to have their main character yes, I am betraying the party. But
it's a fun trope. It's just, you need the build up.
Yeah, like exactly what you're saying, like with the small conflicts. Everything feels better if you have like those little allusions to a future conflict coming up. So like getting people to practice disagreeing and politely engaging in conflict in character is not something that everybody knows how to do. So like doing those little
It's a skill.
tiny battles, within the party, or somebody saying something really mean about someone else's mama, it makes it easier to understand future conflicts and like, oh no, this is just them playing their character a certain way. They're not actually mad at me. But okay,
Yeah.
let's bring this all back around to non-monogamy because, of course, it's the goal with everything I do. What do you think the equivalent of a session 0 would be in your polycule?
That is a really neat question. I suppose it would be kind of a board game night in practice. Partners and metamours all present, and their desires, expectations, preferred forms of communication and mediation get brought up and discussed. I don't have a lot of experience with this personally. My current partners are very separate. They don't really know each other. They are aware of each other, but that's about as far as it goes. And so, like, we haven't had a chance to like cross that line for various reasons that I won't go into.
I
But
guess you have to
so
be
much of my knowledge is sorry.
polyamorous. I guess you have to be tabletop polyamorous for a session 0 to really make sense instead of parallel.
I mean, yeah, like Parallels is an entirely different ball game, but it can still happen. I mean, as long as everybody is aware of what needs to go into it, I mean, that's what a session 0 is ultimately about. It's about making sure that everybody's aware of like what is off the table and what's on the table. Yeah. Hey.
Okay, so I love this like analogy and continuing it, sometimes when you're playing a game, you have a player that joins later in the game. With polyamory, your partners are always getting new partners. How do you do a session 0 when everybody else kind of knows the game you're already playing and there's just one person that feels new without making that person feel like othered?
It's easy in my head. I mean, you have a session 0 again. Tends to go quicker when there's only one person who might have questions or need to be brought up to speed on certain things. Oftentimes, an experienced GM or partner, as it might be, can set the first 45 minutes aside of the day, of the session, of the get together, to do all the session 0 stuff, safety tools, subject matters that need to be avoided, play styles, and then the game can continue. But to abandon all gaming language and in practice, it'll likely look like another board game night where everyone shares stories and about what they like and best about being with each other and things that they've enjoyed. To make somebody not feel othered is to include them in the conversation. And to do that best takes a little bit of, a little bit of like give and take. It's going to be awkward at first, but when you relax, everything will be fine. I think the most important thing is to have consideration for other people's perspectives and be willing to give grace in the moment for potential misunderstandings, like with all forms of communication.
I like that because, so like continuing to think about it in this way, if you are a good DM and a good partner, like the /DM/partner, if you're good at both of
It's a great
those,
fic.
you typically know things about each player that gives them connections to the new player. So you can make them feel more included by being like, hey, Janelle, I know that you love to watch reality TV and only talk shit about it. Meet Vanessa. She is Jake's partner, like, and then in the same way, it could be like, oh, Skull Crusher, I know that your life goal is to crush a man's skull between your thighs. Meet Vanessa.
Meet Vanessa.
Still meet Vanessa.
There's a huge correlation between a new player joining a D&D dynamic and a new partner joining a dynamic where you have new relationship energy and wanting to have that new character feel like part of the group much faster, so they get a lot more attention.
Okay, what if the new player is played by a new partner of the DM, because that's our next story?
Oh, well, that can go good or that can go badly.
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
All right. So, the title for this one is I think one of our players secretly hates me and is using her character to show it. So, for anonymity's sake, we'll call the player Julie. We have been playing our campaign for over a year now, and for the most part, it's been really fun. Our DM's current girlfriend, Julie, is still new to the game. We're all very supportive of new players and helping her understand the rules and her character sheet, but she's very prone to swapping out her characters after every chapter. She's trying to find her favorite combo that fits her play style, but one thing she's kept consistent is that every single one of these characters who have no relationship to one another instinctively hate my character. Okay, so outside of the game, we have no beef or headbutting or, big differences at all. In fact, we're pretty chill whenever we step outside to a smoke with another friend. But for some reason, all of Julie's characters hate mine. She states, I don't know why I don't like this person with every first-time interaction. And her character always hopes mine dies in some horrible way. I play a dumb yet happy cleric. Aw, himbo. Thembo. We don't know, Bo.
Thembo.
Anyway.
Thembo.
Who is team support healer and is chaotic good. I even try to have some wholesome interactions with her character, but she refuses to befriend me and even threatens to attack me most of the time. In some battles, while attacking an enemy, she prefers me to be near the enemy before she makes her huge area of effect attack. Sus.
Very sus. Very sus.
All right. She seems high on the spectrum, and I never liked that. Anyway, she seems high on the spectrum and is prone to major mood swings. 8 out of 10 times she plays, she seems to be almost disinterested, and she RPs very little with the rest of the group. Most of the time saying, I don't know what's going on anyways, and I don't care. And just looking at her phone, not paying any attention to the story. But she shows kindness and favoritism to the other players, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've talked with our DM about her issues, and he sees it too. He tries to encourage her being more nice to my character, or at least give an explanation of why she hates me, and she refuses. Neither of us want a confrontation that would complicate game nights. She seems friendly to me outside of the game, and I've questioned myself if I've done something inadvertently to upset her. At this point, I don't know what to do other than just accept it, but it's been so long, and after a long while, it starts to become a bit annoying. As she has once again changed her characters, and I can already call it that this one is also going to hate my character for no apparent reason. But I've read stories on here about how long-standing games can be ruined by drama, so I just try to avoid it and enjoy the game, but she makes it really hard sometimes. Am I in the wrong here? And there's a short update.
Okay, let's hear that.
All right, so this past weekend, our DM attempted to speak with Julie again, and her response was, well, I'm just playing to my character, and if she doesn't like certain persons, that's her, not me. I don't know her reason yet, but she just, doesn't like him. And he said, why are you that way with all of your characters? Why do none of them like only not him? I don't know. They just don't. I couldn't tell you. So it was an expected response. But our DM then told me, since she doesn't want to explain why, you can withhold heals from her. And if she gives you any lip about it, just say your character is wholesome and doesn't like characters who are mean to him. You're a cleric, so your god, me, will back you up. I don't know why both of these became Lumpy Space Princess in my head.
You went full Lumpy Space Princess.
That's just who they are. Okay, so in conclusion, this feels like a slow fuse that's going to blow up before our campaign ends. I've tolerated her character to this point, and it's at least nice of our DM to understand the purpose of keeping things fun and calm. She probably won't ever change, and I'm not going to stop playing just because of her. I love this game. We all do. And the DM's law is absolute, so it helps that he's on my side, at least. Okay. I hate to be this person, but for some reason, this stinks of Julie having a crush on OP and not having a healthy way to express it. I don't know what it is. Just like it feels like the kindergarten sort of like picking, like pulling. The Julie is pulling on OP's pigtails right now.
Okay. Interesting. I hadn't considered she would be crushing on OP. That certainly does change the context.
It's just my, little fan story in the background. I ship it. This is the polyamorous one. So, with them probably being monogamous, maybe Julie's just like, I've got a crush on OP and the DM. Whatever shall I do about it? I'm gonna be mean to OP so that my DM boyfriend doesn't know that I have a crush on OP.
That unfortunately makes a lot of sense.
Look, I am also high on the spectrum, as OP would say, and I may have acted sort of like this in the past because I met one of my partners playing DnD, and I was a little bit of a jerk to him just to, like, vent the frustration of having developed a crush on someone who, to my knowledge at the time, was unavailable. Or maybe. Did OP maybe call Julie the DM's new girlfriend out loud? Because he said something kind of like current girlfriend at the beginning of the... I hope he didn't say anything like that out loud.
I hope so, too. That would be kind of mean. To be like, oh, so you're the current girlfriend?
Ooh.
Okay, you'll last like a week. Oh, man, that's the implication. That sounds like, oh, wow, that would be awful.
That's the only thing I can think of so far that maybe just like an accidental slip of the tongue made Julie hate OP or a crush. But sorry, I've been talking a lot.
No. Like initially though, it does come off like Julie is absolutely holding some kind of grudge, no matter how small, and it's become a big problem at the table. The DM telling the player to withhold heals is not going to make this any better. It will just make it fester and get worse. The best thing to do is to call it the behavior both in and out of character every time it shows up, because this is a classic toxic gamer mentality, and they either have to change their behavior or leave the group. Let's break it down a little bit further, though. The line that really decided this for me was earlier on in the post, when Julie said, I don't know why, I just don't like this person. That's not a justification. That's a telling statement. If you want to have conflict in your party, both players need to be on board. You need to work out the details of the conflict and maybe talk about ways for it to be naturally resolved over the course of the story. Remember, in most D&D games and other TTRPGs, it's a cooperative game. If you can't play nice, no one's going to have a good time. I think the DM did the right thing by approaching their partner and trying to get them to leave off.
Yeah.
Julie made it clear they're not going to stop.
I just had the thought of like they need to be having like consent talks about this in advance and stuff like that. But then also they can foreshadow the way that things are eventually going to be resolved if they figure it out in advance. If they decide they're going to, have their characters beef about something, they can make it a fucking satisfying resolution.
They really could.
Yeah, but no, like it doesn't seem like there's been a consent talk here, and like even without thinking about different triggers and stuff like that, because maybe I accidentally upset someone at my table by talking about how my druid was taking the toe of a man so that if she needed to, she could reincarnate him or whatever, yada yada. What at the time I can't remember exactly what it was, but I really bothered one of the people at my table with the description of like she just cuts his toe off and walks away. I didn't know that. So like not having these consent talks at the beginning, you don't know what's going to trigger someone, and you don't know if your style of conflict is going to trigger someone. So like finding out in advance, like if your players have a trigger against like gaslighting or raising their voice, you can have that conflict in a way that's healthier for everyone at the table.
This is why Session Zero is so important.
Yes, big time.
And the fact that they put all of the onus of this issue on the OP marks this as couples privilege, in my opinion. This isn't a great situation already. It's a bit of a powder keg. And I can only hope that the OP and the DM can have a civil conversation with Julie about, proper table etiquette.
Oh, yeah. Like, okay, so big couples privilege from the beginning because table etiquette, I don't know who the hell would let someone change characters all willy-nilly like that, because like a single change to your character can completely throw off how your party's combat is balanced. Like the DM probably, has a bit of an advantage here because he's probably helping her make all these character sheets and, can balance combat on the back end.
But it changes the party dynamic entirely.
No one else's table would that be okay.
Yeah, no, it is a stressor when you have characters coming in and out all the time, and it needs to be cleared with the other players of the game.
Mm-hmm. I personally would be kind of interested in hearing how Julie and this DM handle like relationship conflict, because I hope it's not this kind of avoidance that they have just trying to keep the peace in the game. Like, just trying to keep the peace in the relationship is never good. Like, keep the peace in the relationship or keep the peace in the game. Neither of them are worth it if someone is having to make themselves miserable, or like in this situation, put up with blatant disrespect and unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah. No, out of context, I just don't have a lot of respect for either Julie or the DM for how this has been handled.
It's a bummer, but...
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to read one more story before we head to break, but Jason's going to read it and give my little old voice a rest. So without further ado, go ahead, Jason.
Okay, so this one is called I Want to Hear Your PC Romances, both the successes and tales of horror, and this one is a success story. I was a Jabrin Beguiler, 3.5, with a 20 charisma score. Pretty stereotypical fare. He was devilishly charming, very mischievous, and tended to enjoy the most destructive path to achieving his goals. So my party was fighting to bring down the alchemists, a group, quote, unquote, who had suddenly appeared out of nowhere and built towers in every major city, quote, helping, end quote, people, but they very clearly pursuing their own sinister ends. Turns out they had a lot of very large bombs. So after we have done enough damage to be considered a threat, the alchemist hired an assassin to take us out. Her initial stroke was to blow up the thing we were trying to blow up, but while we were still inside it. Now, typically, I'm not one for RP romance, but this was too perfect a match for Algernon, my character, to ignore. So I started to flirt with her while simultaneously attempting to skewer her with my rapier. At first she ignored me, but then I think my DM saw an opportunity for comedic and endearing development. We started a fantastic relationship where she would leave little hearts for me with bombs underneath them, or I would write her a love poem with exploding runes. It culminated with me taking her to a masquerade ball, where we spent a rather romantic evening pretending we weren't fully aware the other one had some glorious coup planned for the night. After a very romantic dance, she leaned in and whispered, "Goodbye, my love." I don't fully know what her next plan was because I managed to react quickly enough to cast Shocking Grasp Mid-Embrace. It didn't hurt much, but it made her stagger enough for the rest of my party to avoid surprise. Several explosions, a long battle later, she lay dying in my arms and whispered that she'd see me on the other side. Then the explosive she had strapped to her thigh went off, knocking me to -9 HP. Good shit overall.
I'm so weak for the enemies to lovers trope, and something about her dragging him to hell with her makes it even better.
This is some prime conflict-oriented in-game romance. 10 out of 10. No notes. In this scenario, the player and the DM came to a mutual understanding that they had a good dynamic developing and let the negative consequences ride, letting the dynamic grow and strengthen, allowing for a much more satisfying story overall. In this case, I imagine the relationship between the DM and the player is pretty strong already. So they have an intuitive understanding of what each of them can handle. So they likely didn't need to talk things through as much. But if you want to have an experience like this, it's never a bad idea to talk to your GM about anything about it. All you need to do is establish what kind of negatives you're unwilling to deal with and what kind of negatives you're very interested in dealing with. Making flirty comments while planning the demise of the other requires an above-table trust between the players and the GM for the best experience.
Going back to session 0, like talk about it from the beginning. Hey, who wants to have romance? Who doesn't? Because the DM could like build you one in from the get-go. Or, if one naturally develops, you can both be like, yeah, all right.
I actually just did this with a game that I started very recently, where in session 0, I talked to the players about having subplots. And I was like, would any of you want a rival or an enemy or perhaps a romantic interest? We can work off of that. And like I talked about various other things that could come up. And one of the players told me that he wants to have a in-game romance. And I think that's really, really cool. More to the point, he's playing a Yuan-Ti paladin. trying to be lawful good. So that already shows me that this character and this player wants a conflict-filled story. Because if, for those of you who don't know about the lore of Dungeons & Dragons, a Yuan-Ti is a snake person who is just definitively evil by nature in Dungeons & Dragons, which is a whole topic that we could go into, but I won't. Anyways, the consequence for playing this character is that your average individual who knows about Yuan-Ti will be very wary of this character and any intention of being good. So already a really complicated, really interesting storyline potential for this. And wanting to have a romance on top of that, incredible. So we talked about it, and we went back and forth a little bit. When the opportunity presents itself, we're going to pursue it.
Okay. So, on table relationships. Have you ever had an above table relationship form before your very eyes? Did you handle it well? Did you make them break up? Did you make them roll a whiz saving throw when they mentioned that they were dating each other, thus giving your opinion on the relationship?
It's only happened like an above table relationship forming has only happened once at my table, and it was with me. I was younger and did not handle it very well. First off, I was the DM. So I'm going to go ahead and preface this. If you are a DM and you have a crush on one of your players, don't bring that into game. Really do your best to separate that. And maybe hammer that out as soon as possible. Take care of that. Either shut it down or take your shot. Either way, what happened for me was there was a couple in my game, and I was crushing pretty hard on the girl, guy and a girl, and they were dating. I was aware that they were dating. And I started having an NPC flirt pretty heavily with her in game. I want to say it was unconscious at first. I don't think it was. I think I knew what I was doing, but was lying to myself about it. And this led to me being a homewrecker unintentionally. While I don't think I'm the sole cause, they did end up breaking up, and I pursued her after the fact, which led to a pretty devastating breakup for me only a few months later, where she dumped me in the middle of Seattle. 4 days, more than 4 days actually, before my flight back to Texas was.
Jesus, when you fail a check, you really fail a check, don't you?
I sure learned a lesson. It's true.
Okay, I don't want anybody to think that that's how all of them go, so let me share my success story, because I fell in, if you couldn't tell by the story I told earlier, I fell for someone across the table from me. It's this golden retriever player of our Oracle, and I didn't know that he and his wife were non-monogamous for quite a while, but then we dated. Everything was awesome. But if it tells you how strong that Pathfinder table was, we continued the game for 8 months after we broke up. It was a bad breakup, and it's a long story, but we were able to keep it professional, and our characters still worked well together, even if I did get snippy with him from time to time. And we ended up dating again, so victory.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear, honestly. I mean, first off, being able to continue a group dynamic after you've had a personal falling out with somebody at the table, even if you're able to separate from it, it's hard to do. But it's good to hear that you were able to tough it out, and that you guys were able to repair the relationship a little bit to be able to date again.
Instead of doing one of our normal B segments, I actually just kind of had an idea, and I'm springing this on Jason without any kind of preparation.
Improv?
Yeah.
Yes, and?
Do you feel that games with any kind of romantic threads are easier with people who are polyamorous because there's less of that competition, or are polyamorous people just as competitive for the attention of others, you think? What do you think? What do you think? Does it make it easier, harder?
Okay, so my journey with non-monogamy has been something I've been through since I was like in senior year of high school. And I don't have a lot of personal experience because it's only been recently that I've had more than one partner at a time. But my opinion is that I think it's a little column A, little column B. People who are choosing a non-monogamous relationship style tend to be a little bit more introspective. Tend to be, not always. So that does make things easier. But the competition is still very, very much there. People still get jealous. People still get, caught up in their own egos. You have to. I think I have to take kind of a lame answer out and say that's a case by case basis.
That's how every relationship is. So I wouldn't have accepted any other answer. But I just had the fun thought of like doing a campaign where the party is just a
Well, now I'm feeling
polycule.
bratty and want to say, no, it's absolutely easier with polyamory.
Yeah, no, usurp that expectation. No, but yeah, I just love the idea that everyone is like super gay and helping each other and, trying to protect each other. And oh my goodness, it gives me all the warm, good feels. Like, oh, love it. Sorry. That's all I could think of for a B segment because we were going to originally do the love triangle and media thing. Did you have something you wanted to say for that one? Because I just sprung this on you if you had something you prepared.
I don't personally have. Like, if we want to talk about love triangles and medias, it's one of those things that just like sounds silly to me. Because like ever since I was a kid, I was always befuddled. I was like, why can't they all date?
Oh, I feel like that's such an early indicator because same.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, so either you all date because you all get along, you all seem to get along anyway. Why isn't that an issue?
Yeah, if y'all just both dated her, there would be like no conflict in this movie, Catherine.
Exactly.
Just date both of them, Bella.
Okay, look, the Mockingbird could use some support. Actually, I take that back because Gale's a little shit and I hate him. Loved PETA, though.
Oh, you thought I said Katniss instead of Catherine?
No, I just remembered Katniss.
Oh, right.
That was a thing as well.
That's another one. Yeah, like she has her home boyfriend and her away boyfriend.
Yeah, like Gale's the broody bad boy, and Pete is the wholesome home guy. But like Pete is just a head and a half better than Gale.
I feel like, if they were all in a relationship together, Gale would have grown into such a better nugget of person.
Oh, he would have been if he was like
just share the love.
Just
stop
able to
locking
get
all
past
the love away, Hollywood.
Yeah, I have thoughts and opinions.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sloan. We are rambling. Let me get us. I love using Sloan as like the off-screen producer giving me the side eye. It makes me
laugh. Are you kidding me? Sloan is currently in my apartment, looking at me and tapping her foot, and I'm a little nervous here.
Well, if you start tapping your pen, I know she's gonna break your neck. So
right?
Let's get on with the next story. Looking for advice on a bad party dynamic.
Would you like me to read this one too?
I mean, shit, please go ahead. You've got a lovely voice.
Thank you. That's a great compliment, Lynn. All right, so here it goes. I'm currently playing in a campaign where the dynamic of our group just isn't working and was hoping to get some advice. I'll first introduce you to our party's characters and players with fake names. Keep in mind that this is coming from my perspective, so I don't know everything about the other players' characters. Akuma, a chaotic neutral barbarian paladin multiclass played by Jack, a bit of an edgelord. He enjoys manipulating people and is a bit bloodthirsty. I believe Jack is pretty new to D&D and role-playing in general. Zaston, a neutral evil character ranger played by Alex. Zaston is modeled after Gaston.
So wouldn't it be Zaston?
Zaston! Han. He's modeled after Gaston from Beauty and the Beast and is a borderline joke character. Alex is very new to D&D. Calliope, a chaotic good artificer played by Luke. Calliope is a complete wallflower who spends most of her time researching things. Luke is inexperienced with both D&D and roleplay, but mostly over text. Is experienced, sorry. Finally, we have Rakur, a chaotic good warlock played by yours truly. Rakur is very isolationist, does mostly what he wants, forgetting about other people. I'm relatively experienced with D&D, but slightly less so with the role-playing aspect. I'm sure you already see one of the problems here. Our characters already don't exactly work within a party, especially so when we put them together with others. I fully acknowledge my part in this. Although I had originally intended for Rakur to get drawn out of his shell and learn to work together, that hasn't happened. My fault for making my character's function depend on the actions of others. Our party so far has been dysfunctional at best. We split up often, usually with Akuma and Zaston going off on their own while Calliope and Rakur are working on researching something. There have been entire sessions and fights where some of us just weren't around. Out of game, there are sometimes arguments over whether or not what another player did was in character. We talked a lot about it and have made plans to change characters' behavior, but so far it hasn't helped fix our issues. I've thought about it a lot, and I believe the core of it is a lack of trust between the players. No one trusts that the other player knows what they're doing. I'm definitely guilty of this as well. I find myself not trusting other party members to act as functioning members of the party, or not to derail the game. It's not a good feeling, and considering that these are real-life friends of mine, I don't want to just leave or stop the campaign. I'm already planning on switching a character who is more willing to work with the party, but I'm worried that it won't be enough if we can't restore the players' trust in each other as fellow D&D players. Does anyone have any suggestions or ideas on how to salvage the situation and make it so that everyone can have fun? Sorry for the long post, and if you've read this far, thank you. Any help would be very much appreciated. This is a tricky situation. Honestly, I'd start the game over. Make new characters with the understanding the party needs to make characters that have, if not trust with each other, a strong shared goal that allows them to build trust with each other.
Yeah, it really sounds like at least three of them, were hoping to fill the role of the quieter, brooding type, and they just made a party of all of those. So yeah, as much as it does kind of suck, I would say scrap the party and...
I'm so edgy and dark and brooding.
Watch out, it's Batman! They're all Batman! Shit! But yeah, like starting over the campaign, if they want to keep up the campaign, they could do that. If they want to do something, but this party is just bad energy. It doesn't seem to have the cohesion that a party needs to be interesting and like fun to play, if that makes any sense. Props though to not first off, I guess I wanted to give props to Alex for Zaston, because I wish that more new players would make a joke character, because things go wrong, you play things wrong, you roll shitty, and making a joke character makes it so much easier not to take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
So I feel like they just need to like lean into that a little bit more. Like maybe all of them make a joke character, like make their character like make it all have like one running joke that's like an inside joke or something like that, so they have a thing. They can also always do the like as the party dies, surrounded by the cinders of the city they fought so hard to save, a small group of onlookers feel a new and unknown power stirring in their chests, and
this feeling.
Yeah, and pick up the campaign if they want to continue the campaign. And I really like it when people come to a session 0 with a couple of different character ideas, so that like we can collectively build the party to be interesting.
Same. It doesn't matter if you're like doubling up on classes or not. It can just lead to amazing things if we all just like, oh, you're playing that? Oh, why don't I play this other character idea that I had? Because then we can like go together on the same shared experience. I
still fully say that you can have a party that is only clerics and it'll be perfectly feasible. Like clerics. I am a cleric. lover. I play clerics all the time. I feel like you don't have to, like Jason's saying, you don't have to choose different classes because there's so many different like subtypes and specialties and flavor that you can throw on these characters. It seems like they didn't throw on flavor; they just peppered it and called it good. It's got black pepper. It's fine.
Yeah, the oops all rogues or oops all bards thing like works for a reason. I mean, it's very easy to be like, we're all bards? Oh, let's take this show on the road.
They need to pick what movie they're gonna be playing here and follow the vibe.
Very clearly, it's literally any of the Muppet films.
Yeah, I love playing D&D kind of like it's a Muppet film. Which is funny considering the type of D&D that you and I play in Swipe Right for Dragons, but yeah. I feel like the GM needs to suggest maybe scrapping this party and going in. I love Calliope. That's such a cute little name, but maybe make him less of a wallflower.
Yeah, no, in this scenario, the GM needs to be stepping up in their role as a mediator and should fashion some scenarios where the characters need to work together through a variety of situations that highlight each other's character strengths and weaknesses. Crafting a few scenarios where they can intentionally roleplay through some inter-party conflict would also help, but it would need to be discussed ahead of time above table. That is to say, with the players.
Yep, the DM is salakalackin here. If they were a hinge, they'd be a bad one. I see poor boundaries and like people pleasing in order to resolve discomfort. And maybe it's like because they're all friends and he wants it to work out, but like step up and engineer some moments where the characters have to rely on each other. Make it impossible. Like, as much as people are like, oh, don't railroad your players. Sometimes you have to send your players through a tiny little cavern in a mountainside. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you have to narrow them
as a
in.
treat.
Just a little bit. But there should be these threads that tug each other closer. And like I said earlier, considering like a DM as a hinge, knowing these players and these characters and these partners well, make them connect. Be like, hey, y'all like the same thing. Here's a conversation y'all can start, or send a meme to both of them and accidentally all of a sudden have a group chat that Sloan would, of course, mute. Anything else before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, what is a hinge? I've not heard that term before.
A hinge is the partner that connects to metamours. So say that Jason is dating Delilah and Cameron, but Cameron and Delilah are not dating each other. Cameron and Delilah are each other's metamours, and Jason is the hinge partner.
Cool. Good to know.
I love getting to define things.
Yeah, definitions.
Call me Merriam-Webster with the way I'm defining this. Anyway, as we come to the end of our show, I like to wrap things up with a little bow. The story might be a multi-part adventure with a satisfying resolution or just a little bit of cute wholesomeness in one part. And you can guess which one this is, but I just don't like to leave y'all on cliffhangers. So I have this friend and she asked me to DM for a one-shot session so that she can propose to her boyfriend on it. They are both really involved in RPGs and I've been playing with them for a few years now, mainly 5e. The thing is, he won't know about it and it's supposed to be a secret. Now I have the task of preparing a memorable moment for both of them where there should be a plot point that ends with her proposing to him somehow, and I feel a little pressured. Our friends will be there too. I'm asking for help and ideas, and to know if someone has ever done this in the past. If so, how did it go? Thanks. The first edit. Yeah, we're pretty sure he's saying yes to the proposal. We don't believe it's a problem.
That's a good thing to, clarify.
Yeah, that would be real awkward if it led all up to that and he's like, oh, nope, I see where this is going. Goodbye.
Oh, gosh. See, you feel that about me, but that'd be very awkward.
It'd be so nice if somebody loved you. Then the second edit is definitely designing the adventure with the future fiance. It wouldn't be just built by me. So the update comes after it happens, which I love.
Ooh, good.
Okay.
Good.
So we did it, and it went great. It took some time for
Yay!
it to happen because we live far away from each other, and I had to fly to their continent on vacation. It was a 6-hour-long session, and me and 6 other friends. The soon-to-be bride and I designed the structure of the story together, and I handled the details so that she could experience it without spoiling too much for her. The system was 5.0. I will share the whole plot story with y'all since I think it's quite nice. Since everyone at the table was into sci-fi, such as Doctor Who, I decided to go through this path and design a story with time travel and paradox shenanigans. Basically, there was an event in the universe that released so much energy, was so powerful, it managed to shatter time, space, and the universe itself, creating a bunch of timeline anomalies. Each anomaly is an act, and each one of them was an allegory to something in their lives that was important to the group as a whole. This is so fucking cute.
Oh my god.
So Act 1 is based on the bar we used to all hang out at university. The party won their first big accomplishment as a group, the trophy for a beer pong championship. They were all celebrating the victory. Suddenly, a huge storm came and a couple of air elementals started attacking them. After the fight,
nice.
The doctor appeared, cleaned up the mess, and explained to them what was happening. Act 2 was about the time I had a bicycle accident after coming home drunk from a party. Yeah, don't drink and drive when you drink or something. Yeah,
Don't drink
bicycle riding drunk bad.
cycle.
And the now groom and bride helped me to the hospital and stayed with me during the night. It's something that we look back on fondly because it actually brought them closer together. In the adventure, the party found an accidented, dented, I get it, Warforged, accidented, my character in the groom's D&D table. They got wasted after a party and had an accident on its loyal bison. Together with them was a magical hourglass. Every time they turned the hourglass upside down, they were transported to the time in the party that was happening earlier. Think Groundhog Day. Their mission was to help the Warforged indirectly so he would not get wasted and arrive home safely. There was an evil guy enchanting the saddles and other stuff.
Yeehaw.
Act 3 was about furries. Calm down, it's not them. So what if it was? They traveled to the future where dogs and cats reigned the world and a civil war was happening. The king of the dogs was their dog and the queen of the cats was their cat. The mission for the party was to understand what was going on and solve an act in a diplomatic way. There was a magical parity orb that each of the races thought the other one had stolen from them centuries ago. In the end, it was a big misunderstanding, and the parity orb was found inside a big pile of poop in a cave. The parity orb was a squeaky ball. Act 4 is the whole table's friendship. They found themselves in a giant frozen lake taken by this Barovian mist. After the doctor made the mist disappear, they saw the frozen lake actually acted as a mirror to another dimension. They could see the other group of people on the other side also looking weirdly towards them. These people were their own characters in the groom's table, and they would be fighting the same fight at the same time in different dimensions. We basically ended up having a big-ass fight against Strahd with a big blue dragon, a big-ass blue dragon, to quote him properly, with a ring around his neck. Final Fantasy-like, and its whelplings. In the end, the ring transformed into a finger-sized ring, and they got it. Act 5 was where the fourth wall got broken. After all these timeline anomalies, the doctor managed to get the time and space coordinates to the event that started it all. So they traveled to the weird place with cars and some technology they couldn't comprehend. The ring flew out from a pocket and started guiding them through this anachronistic scenario. The destination, the place we were all at as players, hanging out at this very moment. And what event was so powerful that it managed to shatter time and space itself? The moment of the proposal.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah, it was quite silly, but hey, in an amazing way. Well, he said yes as expected. The rest is history. It's probably my coolest, most emotional D&D table ever. I don't think anything will ever top this. We're both crying, so we need to wrap this up so we can go blubber.
This is very cute.
Anyway, you have anything to add?
Oh, that was really good. That was a great story.
It was so cute. Please, D&D nerds, do shit like this. Please and thank you. Tell me about it.
Yes.
I want to live vicariously through you because I don't want to get married, but proposals are adorable.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. Co-host, insert co-host name here. Tell the people where they can find you if they want to hear more from you.
They won't find me. I'll find them. I'm super mysterious and definitely can't be hired for TTRPG experiences on startplaying.game/GM/laughing dragon stories.
Metamour Than You Bargained For is a production of Roll to Finish LLC. I've been your host, Lynn Lawless. Our producer, editor, and all-around badass is Sloan Abbott, and our audio engineer is Kel Fernandez. We all hope to see you back for our next episode, which will be in 2 weeks. Every other week, we're getting you a new episode. In the meantime, please make sure to follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/metamourpod to join our Discord and listen to our exclusive bonus audio content. You can join our community and post your stories to our subreddit r/metamourpod, or if you're a bit more private, send your story to our Gmail, metamourpod@gmail.com. For other ways to listen and keep up with the show, check out our Beacons page, beacons.ai/metamourpod. In the meantime, subscribe, drop us a 5-star review. If it's funny, I might read it. That's all I gotta say. Get out of here. Bye.